Hey, everybody. Welcome to Power Talk Tuesday. I am your host, Nadia Francois, and we are here today for our edition of Mental Health Matters. It is May. I'm trying to take us back. It is May, Mental Health Awareness Month, and I have brought together some amazing women that are going to tell us and teach us, educate us, and empower us in mental health awareness. We have several topics that we're going to cover tonight. So bring your questions, invite your people, share out this broadcast. And I am going to do just that right now while I bring the ladies up. Hey, ladies.
Hello.
How are you? How are
Hi.
y'all tonight? Welcome to Power Talk Tuesday. So, what we will do is allow each of you to introduce yourself. And we will start with Miss Michelle.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Anderson Benjamin. I'm also known as the Fearless Warrior. I am a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with breast cancer at 36 in 2020. And I am a certified mental health coach and advocate and a certified master coach. I am a firm believer in walking in my purpose, and I am using my voice to be an advocate for those.
Awesome. Thank you, Queen. Next, Miss Carrie Davidson.
Good evening. Good evening. I am Carrie Davidson. I am a licensed professional counselor with the option to supervise if needed, as well as a national certified counselor. I have been in the counseling profession since I graduated in 2005. I have had various positions. I am a firm believer that if you allow God to guide you, He will root you where you need and allow you to bloom. And so, therefore, in 2019, I opened up my practice, rooted counseling and consultation. And not being very active and I wasn't being obedient, God said, I need you to do what I need you to do to serve the community. So, therefore, I fully stepped out on faith for my 49th birthday and went into full private practice. And
Love
so I
it.
specialize in depression, anxiety, mood disorders, and trauma and grief. That is my specialty area.
Awesome. Thank you, Queen. Next, Miss Tyeisha Brewer.
Hello, so I am Tyeisha Brewer. I just graduated with my bachelor's in behavioral health with an emphasis in trauma. I start in June in a master's program in mental health counseling. I have been an advocate for a few years now, and I'm also working on my master life coaching certification. So, oh, and I'm an author, a published author that has written a few books on mental health.
Awesome. Yes. And we're definitely hear more about that later. Dr. Joe, come on up, Queen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Josephine Harris, but you all can call me DrJo. I am the founder of Common Minds LLC. I'm also an international psychologist as well as a psychotherapist. I'm also a six-time best-selling author, and I am a global speaker. I'm also a certified mental health wellness coach and advocate, as well. I'm also a mental health blogger. So I blog. I have a blog called Healthy Minds and Hearts, where I blog about the mental journey that I went on as a military spouse. I'm also a military spouse, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, and where I help military spouses found their niche and their voices so that they can overcome different challenges in their life, as well as mental health challenges, as well as self-identity. So, and that's all me. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you, Queen. Dr. Nichole, how are you, Queen?
I'm great, Queen. How are you? And it's amazing to be up here. And thank you for this platform with these amazing queens. Y'all all are rocking it. I am Dr. Nichole Peters. I have a PhD in leadership, biblical studies, and also Christian counseling. I'm here to help women to snatch their power back by starting an organization that is 60,000 strong called Women of Love, Power, and Respect. I'm also the executive producer, the CEO, and founder of Believe in Your Dreams television network, where we are rocking the world one television show at a time. Beat, 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 get on the bus, breakthrough, unstoppable success. I'm also a certified federal life coach, 21 time best-selling author. I work with great people like Les Brown, all the way down. Have been in conferences with Stedman Graham and on. So that is what I do. I'm here to help rock the world, help people soar, and know that they can be great as long as they know they snatch their power back and believe that anything is possible. So that is who Dr. Nichole Peters here, and let's do this, ladies.
Yes, I love it. Thank you, Queen, for that wonderful intro. Thank all of you once again for being here. We are super excited to have you on this platform so that we can share about this. I call it this unsung epidemic, right? Because it's something that's been going on for years. Something that we deal with it within our family, but everyone isn't credentialed or trained or educated to deal with a lot of these mental health issues. So we're going to talk about some of these issues tonight and how we can help ourselves and our loved ones to be well mentally. Okay, so let's start with we have a set of topics that we wanted to talk about tonight. And so I want to start with our babies. We have been having a lot of young people committing suicide. And so, just recently on my mind is the baby from Southern University, the young lady, the cheerleader that took her life, and left this message on social media. And so, I'm going to just pull that out there. And I want you ladies to chime in on, what do you think is causing our young people to feel like they don't deserve to breathe anymore?
Mm.
And we can go around in order. Dr. Michelle, well, I'm saying Dr. Michelle, but we're going to speak it into existence,
Speaking
Queen.
into existence.
Speak it into existence. That's right.
Definitely. Actually, well, I'm a mom of two, as you can see. I have a 15-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. And for children, it's very important, that their family members, and especially their parents and adults, or whoever's their guardian, is just paying attention. Sometimes our kids are very guarded and they don't want to share everything, and they're very hidden, and especially during this pandemic. For me, I was diagnosed during the pandemic during remote learning, right? And I had to not only fight for my own survival, but create an environment in my household where my children were able to still be themselves with all the chaos happening around them. My son is a young Black man in America dealing with social injustice, hearing about people that look like him being killed, then having to be isolated in a household doing remote learning through a computer. And now his mom has breast cancer and she has to fight for her life. So as his mom, I've always been an advocate for my children since they were born, but I had to double down and make sure that just as well as I was putting energy into me surviving, I had to put energy in paying attention to them. And at the end of the day, it's not something that everybody has the strength, because it takes a lot of strength. And I'm fortunate enough to have a foundation of a husband that's supportive, family members that stepped in, but just having those lines of communication. Sometimes we forget that we were once children ourselves, and we judge, right? And we assume instead of just sitting down and having a conversation. It's been plenty times that I'll sit next to my son and be into what he's into. I might not like anime, but I'm gonna watch anime today.
Yeah.
I might not like Pokemon, but I'm gonna figure it out. Because at the end of the day, they just want that time. Sometimes people think material things make a relationship, and it don't. Sometimes our kids just want our time. So, one of the just a technique. I don't want to take long, but a technique that I did with my own children, because I saw a pattern of my son reserving his feelings about how he felt. Everything was, I'm okay, mom. I'm okay, mom. So, I had to do some research, and, I have a master's in health administration, but I also did some work in social work. And I had a conversation, I had to really deep down and think about, how can I connect with this child to get him to speak and to feel comfortable to speak. So one day I came to him and I said, Harold, if you were at my funeral and you had to get up and speak, what would you say? And when my son got up and he looked at me like, really, we doing this? And I'm like, yeah, like, come on, don't be shy. You always got something to say, speak. And he got up and he spoke and he said, my mom was one of the most annoying people I ever met. But
I love it. I love it.
but she loved me unconditionally. She said she is the only parent I know that went through chemotherapy and would take the time from throwing up in the toilet to raise her head to yell to make sure that I had my camera on for my Zoom class. She pushed through and always showed strength no matter how much it probably hurt her to go through what she's going through. And she always put me and my sister first. I know that in times you can't control what happens in your life, but my mom made sure that me and my sister were always first in everything that she did. And her resilience pushed me to be the better person for myself. So it's just, it's really about just, sometimes we get so busy with life that we forget that we were once their age. And sometimes we have to fall back and be their age.
Yeah.
And
Anyone else want to chime in on that?
I
Thank you,
um I
Michelle.
wish I wish my son would have gave a better answer. I asked him, but that's key. The key thing with our youth today is time, and it's something that they don't know, because when we look at things from a statistical perspective in the generation, they're from young mothers. So if
Yeah.
you have a parent that does not know how to connect because they're still trying to be that child or relive their childhood, they're not taking the time with their children. I did the same exercise with my son, and my son said my mama was crazy, but she put God first. So I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I took it, right? However, one of the things that I had to do, time is very much so true in what children need. And so I was working the 2 and the 3 jobs, and I saw my son being a single parent, relying on grandmother to assist. I found myself missing out on some things. So I created our Wednesday night date night.
Mm.
And the date night was literally the first 3 times it was silent. And did not want to be there. So I had to find ways of creating a no judgment zone. This is
Yeah.
the time to tell mommy what I'm not doing, right? And it ended up turning into something beautiful. But the one thing that my son will always share is that I had an open door policy. You could bring your friends, you could bring whoever, talk to me. And so I was that parent because of my background, because my son went to a lot of my classes with me. He would have his friends call me, or I found myself in situations where he had the friends that were thinking of suicide, but he knew what to do. I educated. A lot of times when we're looking at things from a clinical perspective, there are a lot of children being misdiagnosed with conduct disorder,
Yeah.
or they're being diagnosed as uh, ADHD, and
Yes.
they're actually having mental health issues, and it's being overlooked.
Yeah.
And the key thing is children not having the tools to deal with their emotions. They're not given the tools. They don't know how to deal with sadness, with anger. They don't have the tools. And so, um, self esteem, not being told that they're loved, not having the time spent with them, or not having a um, desire for life. They're not being taught these things. It starts in the home. I hate to say it. It starts in the home. And if you're not getting that, then feel as though you have no worth. And
Mm.
what usually happens if you feel in your mindset that I'm not worthy, you start to have these different emotions that you're not used to dealing with. And so, depending on circumstances, depending on environment, depending on um, just various environmental dynamics, social dynamics, um, basically they have feel like they have no worth. And bullying, the bullying is a big issue, which kind of stems in with self-esteem.
All right, that was good. These are good, y'all. Y'all are doing great. Anyone else want to chime in on?
Yes, I want to just say on the part about with the kids, what you said about them diagnosing them with the ADHD and the emotional behavior disorder and everything. I went through that with two of my kids out of four. And they had my child on Abilify. They had him on Stratera in the daytime, and then they had him on Abilify at night. So one day, I had my husband to get up to go check on him for school, and he was in there jumping in his sleep, like jumping out of control. And my husband said, babe, it got to be the medicine. I said, I think it's the medicine too. Now, we know that they don't let us chastise our kids. Well, they try not to let us chastise our kids like we used to. But
Right.
we as mothers have to snatch our power back and tell our kids, no, we're not going to listen to the system tell us that we can't tell y'all how to truly behave. You can't tell us how to truly love our kids and how to chastise our kids. Because when you take that out of them, they lose respect for everybody else if they don't have no respect for the home. So we're not going to let anybody tell us that we can't have no respect. So all sometimes it is self-care and self-love. So I went with my child the next time to the psychiatrist, and I told him, I said, y'all taking my kids off this medicine. They made me sign all kind of papers saying that something happened. Y'all, I had already been finding the remedy for my kids. Essential oils help my babies. I became a doTERRA wellness advocate because of the stuff my kids was going through. My son went from C's and D's to A's and B's when I took him off all that medication. I'm not giving my child something that makes him jump, and every time they have a problem, then go just put medicine in a system. This is reason why so many kids, if you look up the statistic right now, over
I love them.
6.8 trillion kids are taking ADHD medicine. And I mean, $6.8 trillion are spent on our kids because of ADHD and emotional behavior when all they need is self-love. Lavender, put some lavender on your child and make them sleep. You don't have to get them Abilify. Give them Roman chamomile tea to help them calm their nerves down. Spray peppermint spray on them to invigorate them to help them pass that test. I told them, I said, I stand on God, because what the wise man gave the baby Jesus. They gave him frankincense and myrrh. Anything good enough for Jesus is good enough for my kids and me too. And that and changing my kids to natural remedies and helping them in the power of prayer is the reason why my son became salutatorian. The one they put down said he wasn't going to be anything, said that he was going to be on medicine all his life. I snatched my kids' power back by treating them myself, healing them through prayer, and now my son ended up becoming, he's salutatory, receive scholarships from everywhere. It's not all the time the ADHD because a child is acting out. Maybe it's just attention that they need in the house. Maybe it's love that they need in the house. Maybe that we need to focus on spending more time. But as long as we putting that medicine in there, my son couldn't do anything but sleep and be grouchy after that. Because what else is for do? That's what medicine do to you. And it was linked to one thing after another one. Oh, he don't have just ADHD no more. He has emotional disturbed behavior now. He have a disorder now. He have a nerve problem. I'm pretty sure he do if you giving him all that kind of medication now. So what I need to do if the medication not working, take him off. And I'm not telling nobody to go against their psychologist. Let me get this right now. Their counselor. I'm telling you what I did for my child and the people I help. They have also in tune. There's things that with pep, what I'm like I said, with lavender in it. Lemon helped them with their cognitive disorder. And that's from plant barks, trees, and stems and roots is what that's from. That's from the earth. That's from God. So that's what I just had to go back on that when you said something about the medicine and what they do to the kids. It's not all the time that they need the medicine. And the medicine sometimes can make them depressed and go through things. Have you ever noticed when a commercial come on and they say what's all in the medicine? Oh, it can make them have panic attacks and anxiety attacks. Okay, if a
Anxiety.
child having a panic attack and anxiety attack, what you think is next?
Mm.
But then that's and
You
not
know
to
what
have to
that is.
take over, but that is so true. And the thing about it is, I remember early in my studies, in my undergrad years, They were doing research then on certain ADHD medication. And what ended up happening was they were manufacturing, doing these studies, and it was finding that it was having these adverse reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, when you're looking at it, when they're using these medications, most of the medications are for adults.
Yep.
That's why it's very important of their weight. And so from a clinical perspective and looking at it from a perspective of what I've seen over the years, they told me my son was ADHD, and the teacher ended up retiring at the time I finished. He went outside, he played soccer, he played 3 sports, slept good every night, focused
Amen.
very well.
Amen. And that is so true. That is so true. So true. Because I went through the same thing, and I have 2 children with ADHD, but they was never on medication because I was one of the parents that advocate for my child because I also have ADHD as well. So I was one of the parents that go into school and I taught the teacher the strategies, the skills that they need in order for them to be productive in the classroom. If my son was bored, don't give him an activity that disrupt your class. So you have to really advocate for your children and making sure that they are in the right environment because most of the time educational teachers really don't know.
And statistically,
They don't.
when we want to go statistically, and when we're looking at from a cultural perspective, I'm really big on it. From
Yes.
a cultural perspective,
Yes, speak on it.
Yes.
from a cultural perspective, because I was in that position where I had a counterpart tell me that my child was ADHD and needed to be on medication. I can't say because we're on a broadcast, but it took my mother to pull me by my coattail by the time I finished. Because statistically, African Americans are placed on medications
Yes.
with conduct disorder. That's how it starts. And behavior problems. They need to be on medication. Because guess what?
Yes.
We have allowed ourselves, society, to allow medications to control our children. And the thing about it is because we don't want to take the time, what we've been talking about, to spend with our children, giving them the school because it's too much, because we're working. We got to make sure they stay in school because I'm being tired. I was a probation officer counselor for almost 10 years. Seen it, heard it, done it all. And the first thing they want to do is they want to medicate children.
Yep.
And they want to sit there and that's the start. That's the pipeline.
That's the pipeline of the institution. Right.
And I just want to add, my son is also has ADD, and that's how I started my advocacy. I started as a special education advocate. My son was getting services at the age of 2 out of pocket. We weren't going through the Board of Ed. And when teachers would say, well, he's not doing this well, or he's not learning well, he's losing focus, maybe you need to teach him differently because everybody don't learn the same way. So before every school year, I would have a meeting with all his teachers. I had a PowerPoint of my son. I broke it down to the science of who he was, what his techniques was. If he was stretching in class, that means he needs to get up. You need to allow him to hand out papers to the class. If he does math in his head. My son is extremely smart. He's an exceptional smart child, but he doesn't show work. He does everything in his head. So if you allow him to sit there and speak, he will sit there and give you a whole thesis in the 3rd and 4th grade. So what happened when he took tests? He had a scribe. Those are things that they don't teach us. They don't teach parents all of the things. And he got a scribe with a 504, not with an IEP.
Exactly.
And nobody understood. Nobody. He had a para with a 504, not with an IEP. And nobody understood. How did this Black mother know the ins and outs? Because this Black mother read the book, the same book that you throw in our face. And it's so big, and nobody reads the fine print. I took the time.
I'm one of the mothers too.
I took the time and read it, and I understood that. Okay, my son suffered from executive functioning. So what happened? I became a certified executive functioning coach. What did I do? What did that mean? So when he started the school year, his subjects were color coded. Math was red, science was green. All his colors match. He had a daily checklist. Teachers had to check with me weekly. So it's about, like all the women say, it's about knowing your kids, but also investing in your kids. Not always allowing the system to tell you what to do with your kids.
Amen.
And
Amen.
this is the thing, but
Amen.
this is key because I did it. I can't say what parish put me, what school district put me out, but I got put out of a school district. So I would advocate as a probation officer counselor.
Wait
I
a
would
minute.
advocate for the kids. And I would teach my parents. I
That's
would
my
teach
friend.
my parents. I would teach my parents how to advocate for their children because what has happened from a societal perspective. Oh, this is good stuff. Now listen to what I'm about to tell you. They have taken the parents out of the process. If you have a
Yes.
community of people
Yes.
who says that the child is the center and the parent, the school, the community is for this child, and you tell me as a parent, because it happened to me, you tell me as a parent that I'm not a part of the process, we have a problem. We have a problem. But what
That's
they
a
have
problem.
done, especially
That's a
from a
problem.
technical legislation, look at the schools. When you look at most legislation, they have 13 different divisions that they have bills for, that they do a budget for.
Mm-hmm.
They have 9 that they must have a budget for. Everything else is lanyard. What do you think is lanyard? Education. So what they do to cut the
Yep.
budget, what they've done here in Louisiana, is that they have cut the paras out of the school. They've cut those teachers that assist the children that have special needs out of the school. Think about it.
Yes, it's
So
true.
when your children
Yeah.
are needing the assistance that they need because they need the one-on-one, or they're misdiagnosing and saying their conduct, when really and truly they need to be, their minds need to be exercised more because
Yeah.
they're bored.
And
Yes.
Yep.
every child, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I need to say this part too, especially with you say you from Louisiana, being in Louisiana. Every child that they put on an IEP, they make thousands, and I mean 30,
Thousand of
40
dollars.
to
Yes.
50,000
October,
or
every
more for it.
October,
So
October
I'm gonna
1st,
keep it real in here, and I'm gonna be
Every
honest with you.
October.
It's a
Yes.
money ticket for them.
October
It's a
1st,
money ticket for them. And
October
I told them
1st.
my children is not their money ticket. And the reason why I took up Christian counseling education was because of the word they had, mental retardation. They're gonna try to. I said that's not a word that need to be. Y'all don't even see that on IEP no more. Cause me and 5 other ladies, when I left Louisiana with that U-Haul and said I was gone because my kids' education mattered, and I moved to Texas at that time. At that time, I knew then I wanted to change how they do IEP. But every child that they have on IEP, they making major money off of it.
Yes.
Wow.
Major off
Major.
our kids.
I'm not gonna speak on that because I still do a lot of stuff with the schools and I don't want to get in trouble. But I'm gonna tell you this much. No, I'm telling you, you speaking the truth. I'm not from Louisiana originally, but I've been here since 1984. And even as a child, when I moved here, Louisiana was 10 years behind. How about that?
Yeah.
The books that I had in the 3rd grade, and I came here in the 7th grade. And when you're looking at education, and when we're going back to the topic and why kids don't have the work and they get frustrated, when you're looking at the signs of teen suicide, they're frustrated,
Yes,
they have
they
no
frustrated.
self-worth. And then you have the teachers that will sit there and mock them, and then they're being
Yes.
teased. And the thing about it is, I know for a fact when I was in the 3rd grade in Pennsylvania, when I moved to Louisiana in the 7th grade, I had those same books
Wow.
because
Wow.
we're that
Yeah, I
far
think they're
behind.
number 49, 48, or 49 as
Yeah.
far as education wise. I
So when
think
you
they
look,
moved up to 47. I think they
but
moved up to number
Now, ladies, I'm
47.
gonna see if Miss Tyeisha has anything she wants to give on this topic before we move to our next
well, that's a
topic.
hot
Do
topic
you have
for us.
anything you wanted to
Yes.
throw in there?
No, I think they pretty much covered everything.
I
um,
just wanted to make sure. I
yes,
think they did.
I love the conversation. I'm learning a lot. Also, I went through it also with my oldest daughter. She was diagnosed with ADHD, and some teachers were great, and some teachers I could just choke them. Like one teacher, I had to ask her, a child, instead of calling me, ask her, "Have you taken your medicine today?" What is that to ask a child? And that's just something I didn't like it. She was on medication for a while, and then I started like Dr. Nichole doing researching like the natural things and what I can do to help her without the medication because she was complaining about just feeling off a lot too. So I just try to help her the best way I can without the medicine. And I'm learning that you have to stay on top of those teachers and the school system, because
Yes,
once they get a whiff of your child being ADHD or on medication, then that's it. It's like some of them are just the biggest bullies.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
yes.
Other bullies. Yes.
Yes. And so I'm gonna go through some of our comments. We got a good bit of comments here. But one is from, well, first off, I want to thank you all, Miss Kalina Diana. Somebody I can't see your name, Miss Michonne Carney. Thank you for joining us. Deborah Dunbar, thank you for joining us. I've been flashing their comments. And Dr. Sylvia Cole, thank you for joining us. And then we have one question. Was the question about teen suicide? Yes, it was. It was, why do our babies feel like they should not breathe anymore? And so these ladies have brought it all the way around to them feeling worthless, parents not connecting with them. You know, sometimes we think that the way that we were raised is the way that we're supposed to raise our children. Sometimes, in some ways, in cases, it's true, but you know, as we evolve, we see everything is changing, and that isn't different for the children. You know, their upbringing is going to be different from ours, but we as parents, we have to sit back and look at, you know, how can we connect with our children? What do they need? What are they crying out for when they're saying nothing, right? And so that's pretty much what I get from the ladies, as far as our teen suicide, and then these medications that our kids are being diagnosed as having illnesses when they may have a mental problem, right?
Mhm.
And so that is how we got into talking about ADHD, the medication, and all of that stuff, because it all ties in. And then finally, to bring it to the pipeline, right? That was the final thing that I caught, as far as all of this funneling to the pipeline. So if it's not sending them to the grave, it's sending them to the prison system, right?
Yeah.
So I thank y'all. We're going to close out on the teen suicide topic. That was really good. Really, really good. And then Miss Michonne Corney also added, sometimes the pressure kids feel from peers and or parents can contribute. Sometimes it's a true mental illness. Right. Exactly. And that's exactly what these ladies are saying. Sometimes our kids are misdiagnosed with a learning disability or something to that effect, as opposed to them really needing help with their mental state. All right. Woo, that was good. All right. Our next topic, we're gonna move to living through trauma. So that is something I thought about. Um, that was something. Oh, and Miss Michonne says she's the mom of a son who attempted suicide at the age of 19. Wow.
Mm.
And then
Wow.
we have Miss Patricia Goodman saying good evening, everyone. Hey, Miss Patricia, thanks for joining us. Yes. So living through trauma, y'all. I got this topic because um over this last couple of years, I've been really finding myself, you know, going through, and my children, to be honest, we all have been going through some different uh things mentally, right? And I know it's because of course, what we've been going through with the pandemic, but also growing up, just growing up, you know. I am not quite at the empty nest stage, but I'm like in the middle, because my older children have grown up and they doing their thing, and then I just have one left. And then he left and went and stayed with my mom because her house was closer to the school. So it's like, what I'm supposed to be doing. But I find different things to help me because, of course, I raised my four sons as a single parent. And I found myself going through a lot of mental conditions, and issues that may not need medication. I've never been on mental illness medication, but who knows? I haven't really been diagnosed with anything. But one thing that I do know is that I have been through a lot of trauma in my life. And so finding, like people have literally told me you're going through PTSD, right? And I'm like, what? And these are mental people, y'all kind of people, credentialed people. And I'm like, what? Am I? And the more that I sit down and I pray about what I go through internally, I really feel that they're right. The things that I've gone through with being a single parent, with being an entrepreneur, with being a woman going through life. And the things that you go through, and then the things that you go through with your children, and you mask that and keep going. And so I wanted to talk about that, just that living through trauma. And then the main thing I thought about was those triggers. That's what made me really realize that it's true, because it's certain things that can happen around me that'll have me very anxious, or make me very nervous. And so that I feel like that is what kind of lets me know that yeah, you're not okay. So can we talk about that a little bit, ladies? Just about living with trauma, living through trauma, because I know sometimes you just have a lot going on in your mind, and somebody can say the wrong thing to you, or act a certain way with you, and you just fly. I'm not gonna say you. I just fly off the handle, or do something drastic, and it doesn't always require all that. So, can we speak on that?
Oh Lord, that's a loaded gun. That's another loaded gun.
It is. It is.
We need like 4 hours on this episode.
You need more time.
We're gonna need a part two, huh?
I'm gonna let somebody else go first.
Okay. Miss Tyeisha, you let us go.
Tyeisha, you go first.
Yeah.
We're gonna go backwards. We're gonna do Tyeisha, then
Okay.
Dr. Joe, then we're gonna go the back way. All right.
Okay. um, it's funny that you brought this up because in my last class for my bachelor's program, we had to write a proposal, and the one that I chose is treating trauma, but not just treating trauma, um, learning how to process the trauma, and then treating the trauma, and then finishing up with the transform mind, a change mind. Um, so this is, I don't know, this trauma is, I love trauma. I guess because it's something that I've been through a lot of, just like you said, been in domestic violence situations, just a lot of stuff. And then going back to my daughter, my oldest daughter, she's seen a lot of that. And I think what people miss is that traumatic events or untreated trauma can turn into those behavior problems or those mental problems. And like they were saying earlier, I mean, a lot of people just want to slap medicine on us instead of going through the process of processing the trauma, treating the trauma. I mean, it's steps to it's the saying that was that a lot of people used to say a little while ago. It's levels to this. It's levels to mental health stuff. It's not just uh, a one fix it all. Yeah. So that's yeah.
Thank you, Tyeisha. Dr. Joe, what you got for me?
Trauma hits people totally different and totally aspect of their life. And because I went through a lot of trauma as well, and I'm saying be transparent. When I went through trauma with a lot of grieving, and how I got my PhD is the funniest thing, because I handle trauma different. I indulge in education, and that's how I grieve by process. But I also didn't realize that in order for me to be the best therapist for my clients, I needed the help and I needed to handle my grief and handle my trauma. So I had to go get a therapist. I had to go get a coach. And I also have an ADHD coach. So trauma hit people totally different. For me, it hit me through education. So I experienced my mama death. I had to do CPR on my mama, then my auntie, then I had to do CPR on my dad. So it hits totally different. And I wasn't in the mind frame of grieving just yet because I didn't have enough space into grieving. So I indulged in so much education. That's how I got my doctorate. That's how I got 3 masters. That's how I got all the education because I didn't want to cry, let myself feel those emotions. So I felt the emotion through education.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about I got so much licensures, I got so much certifications, and that's how I indulge in my trauma. But I had to realize that I had to pull back because it wasn't healthy for me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't healthy for my clients, even though that I was giving them the best therapy, but I wasn't getting the best therapy for myself.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I had to go and get all these resources. I had to go navigate through these resources and being a military spouse as well. So being a military spouse where you never see your spouse for this is the first time my spouse ever been home for a whole year.
Wow.
So it's like handling the kids, handling the trauma, handling all these things that's going around me. And then I had to sit out for a whole year so that I can get my self-care and my self together. So trauma hit people totally different.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's true. And I'm glad you said that because I think that's something that a lot of people miss too is that trauma hits people different. It's not the same for everybody. Like we can look at a person and say, oh, why are they behaving in that way? But you don't, I mean, it's different for everybody, like you said.
Yeah. Absolutely. Dr. Nichole, what you got on it?
Oh goodness, DrJo, that's my sister right next door, and she know when it comes to traumatic experiences, I can go on. So, like I said, we're gonna need 4 hours, so I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna try to break it down, y'all, into about 120 seconds, okay?
All right.
But I've been through a lot of traumatic experiences ever since I was young. I tell people all the time they think you're crazy when you say the enemy he literally tried to get me to kill myself. That was one of the first traumatic experiences I went through. People, nightmares are real. People telling you you're not good enough when you're young or you can't be this. And I'll never forget when my teacher looked down on me after school and she told me after, we had career day and everybody raised their hand up. And I noticed the look she gave me when I said, I want to be that author. I want to be that great speaker like that author came in here and she rocked my world. And right then, she had me to stay after school to only tell me that she informed me of my inadequacies, that she felt like I could not be that good author. I couldn't be that great speaker because I took Title I, in English and reading comprehension. But look at me now, 21 times best-selling author and an international publisher. So let nobody tell you what you can't do when God said you can. Anything is possible.
Yes.
But one of my other traumatic experiences was I am a domestic violence advocate, and I forgot to say that earlier because I try not to take up too much time. But as a domestic violence advocate, I was struck in the head 3 times with a gun. 3 times in the head with a gun. I had to get cognitive therapy, y'all, motor skill therapy. I had to get brainstem therapy and everything. I couldn't even spell the word that for a while. I was spelling it DET. But look at me now. That's why I said I went through it, and that's why I teach other people to stretch back their power to know that true love is not abuse. If anybody got to abuse you, that's what a lot of women right now and mothers go through right now is because of the domestic violence that's in their home. And you never know why a person's acting out like what's her name? Tyeisha said earlier. You never know. I act out a lot because of the things that I seen and witnessed and went through. So I learned as I got older. Let me help those people instead of judging those people or not knowing what's going on in their lives. All they need is somebody to tell them, baby, you are loved. You are enough. You can be great. Yes. So when it comes to traumatic experiences, you got to learn that it's different for everybody, like y'all said. Some people can handle it like DrJo did with education. Some people handle it by trying to go seek help. But it's okay in our community. It has been told that we are crazy if we go see a psychologist. No, you're going to stay crazy if you don't when you know you need to go see one. So that's how I feel about the situation here. It's time for us to be okay with being not okay. We have to get help. when you get help, it stops the traumatic experiences. It break everything off from you, and it free you up the freedom that it's okay to speak about you not being okay. It's okay to speak about, look, something is bothering me. I feel like I want to take my life. Because if you be quiet, it's gonna eat you up in the inside, and
Mm-hmm.
that's darkness. And the only way you can get the light is you have to let it out. So, even though when I was going through COVID, my kids called me screaming and hollering. I'm in the hospital. They telling my husband they might have to put me on a ventilator. But my daughter on the phone screaming and hollering, Mama, Mama, you cannot leave. My daddy just died. And we don't even know if you're going to live. Mama, fight, fight, fight. So imagine how I feel in that hospital bed. My daughter and them just lost their father, and they thinking they're going to lose me too. That took my kids into a traumatic experience. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, I'm helping them. They just lost their father in September, and I'm fighting for my life in September to beat COVID. So it's like everybody go through different. Right now my daughter is still taking her longer, but my son is okay now. He's healing better. So y'all got to let people heal through their traumatic
Yes.
experiences, and if you can't let them heal, do not break them even further, because that caused them
Mm-hmm.
to go into a deeper depression, that caused them to want to kill themselves, and that caused them to shut you out. You wonder why people shut you out, is because of the way that you're going to speak life to them, or you're going to tear them down.
Amen.
Woo! You did it, sis.
She did
That
it.
was it right there. And you kept it 120 seconds. You did it. You did it, girl. But that was really good. That was
Thank you.
really good. Miss Carrie, what you got for me, Queen?
You know, one of the, we all have different gifts.
Yes.
And I think that one of the gifts and one of my purposes that I know that I'm on this earth is to handle those persons that go through grief. Because I have found over the years that through the grief process, persons go through various traumatic situations. Grief is not always death.
Right.
Grief can be about a loss, transition, identity, domestic violence, trauma. I tell people all the time, I went through postpartum depression and didn't even realize, because my childbirth was very traumatic for me, very
Mm-hmm.
traumatic, you know, as a young mother. And so I can only speak for me. And so one of the things that I had to learn, and I have not, I think Nadia, we've been knowing each other for a long time, and you may have been present when I gave my testimony. I have childhood sexual trauma within me, and what I've experienced, not realizing it. And a lot of times, what I did was I blocked those things out, because we tend to block out not even knowing
Mm-hmm.
that we're going through the various traumas that we experience. Life itself is trauma. When I
Mm.
transitioned and moved to Louisiana, it was traumatic. When we look at the things that are occurring today, the violence, when I moved to Louisiana, you know, I'm used to the white picket fences and the neighborhoods and everybody getting along. And when I moved to Louisiana, living in New Orleans, I'm ducking and dodging bullets. That was cultural trauma. you
Yes.
know Trauma, and I think Tyeisha said it earlier, is that trauma comes in all shapes and forms, and it's not cookie cutter, but where it's different. And as in education, in the mental health profession will teach you that it's going to be different for each individual person. So you can't
Mm-hmm.
sit there and group people all into one um bowl, right? It's different. Trauma has, Taisha said it also as well. I like how she said it. There's some level to this stuff,
Yeah.
and still levels that we still learning, because
Yes.
on the situation, the circumstance, we just went through COVID. When think about it, and we go from a historical perspective, slavery, the most traumatic event that we can think of, the Holocaust. Now, I'm looking at it from a culture perspective. You know, the things that military. When you think about what people go to, Dr. Joe, you said, you're a military wife. We don't realize trauma is in various shapes, forms, of fashion. And then I'm gonna break
Mm-hmm.
it down, because rooted counts. I like to get to the root. Depending on the role that you're playing, not so much
Mm-hmm.
playing, but the role that you are in, whether you're a mother, a teacher, a daughter, a mother, a sister, an aunt, a niece. Depending on your role, depending on the situations and the things that you experience, can cause trauma. The hurricanes, as simple as hurricanes. I do an instrument all the time about life experiences, which is so important in the counseling profession, in figuring out, okay, how have you been traumatized? Watching an accident. To this day, I have a fear of bridges. If you take me over a bridge, we're gonna have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have seen someone killed on a bridge that was traumatic.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see? And it caused me to have that PTSD, or it caused me, when I see a bridge, I literally have a panic attack. Literally. And so trauma again comes in many shapes and forms and fashion. And it goes back to, we could tie it into our first topic, when we're not giving the tools to be able to function and to handle that trauma. We come into the instances where as we don't feel as though we can survive, we can make it. One of the biggest things now is violence. Violence comes in all different shapes, forms, or fashion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether abuse, whether gun violence, it happens. And until we take the time to really truly advocate for these things, or to really get our feet in the trenches, as they say, I'm going to use some military terms, my son's military, until we get into the trenches and we really truly go to war and to fight, we will miss the mark every time. We will miss the target every time. And if we sit there and we think linear, right, and it's one way, we will always miss it at every turn. It's not cookie cutter. Trauma comes in different shapes, forms, and fashions, and it's levels to this. And until we understand that, and some do, but then you have some that don't. And then I'm gonna break it down a little bit further. It's cultural.
Yes.
How one culture deals with trauma, because the way that we were taught, another culture may not be able to do so.
Right. I
So
like.
again, it's layers, it's levels. And again, we could be on this topic for days. This is a week topic, kick.
Yeah.
5-day topic to me.
Yes. That was good though. That was good. Miss Michelle, what you got for us?
Let's see, where can I start? So from a child, I was I guess built to be the strong person in my family. I lost my brother when I was 9 to kidney failure. Watched him die in the hospital, and back in the early 90s, he also was HIV positive. So I went through the whole stigma of how people with HIV were treated. They were treated as if they were aliens, and people didn't want you to touch them and stuff like that. And just being a child witnessing that. And from that beginning of witnessing that, of him dying, and my mom, I was the youngest of 5, my mom using me as the reason for her living, right? So in her mind, she felt like she had purpose, but for me as a child, she was putting a role on me that I wasn't ready for, because now I'm the person that got to keep her sane and keep her from not having a breakdown. And this is at 9. So I didn't get to mourn that loss, and I was very close to my brother. Um, to just always being that person for everybody growing up, and through different life experiences, having to be the strong one, to the point where I got the nickname, she's Mother Teresa, Michelle comes to save the day. And now, in the last 2 years, my faith really being tested and my strength being tested. I have stage 1 triple negative breast cancer. I actually just had surgery a week and a half ago. I went through 15 rounds of chemotherapy, lost my hair, had to remove my right breast, and fight for my life, all while being a mom during a pandemic. I am also a healthcare administrator. I work for a hospital. But then in October, I lost my dad. And I had to watch my father die 3 months in the hospital. And anyone that knows me, my dad is my closest thing. When I mean, that's my rock. If nobody could break Michelle, that's the person that could break Michelle. That's the person that's going to get Michelle all the way together. The person in the room that if I have a breakdown, that can channel me in and get me right, he's that person. And my father was always the strongest one in the room, always the person that took care of everyone. And I took, a lot of his qualities, and I watched him And that's why I have that, that mindset. And now I see him helpless. And, I was in the hospital every day with this man, sitting by his bedside, working with one breast, bald head, still, not really dealing with the fact that I'm still going through my own, just finished chemotherapy, not, dealing with the, what my body's going through, because now my dad needed me and it wasn't no discussion. I was tapping in, by any means necessary.
Yeah.
And my dad was on a ventilator for 3 weeks, and I was by his side the whole entire time playing the Isley Brothers. You would have thought his room was the jazz room, because I made sure that we was comfortable and we was going to ride this till the wheels fall off. And, God gave me 2 more weeks of my dad without a ventilator, and we were able to still, God was giving me more time, but my dad wound up passing that 3rd week. And I watched my father take his last breath. And even in that, I didn't mourn. Even in that, I didn't cry, because I was already built to be the strong person. It was already instilled in me to be the person that handled everything. I facilitated my father's whole funeral. Put everything in place, had everything set up. So when he passed, they literally came and picked his body up 2 hours from the hospital, because his funeral was already planned. All while I'm going through my own journey. And for me, I guess trauma for me has been my inspiration, in order for me to help myself, I have to share my story. And by me talking it out loud helps me. But then I realized by me talking it out loud, I'm also helping somebody else. Because people will see me and they'll go, "You have breast cancer," which I never knew there was a look to having cancer. But you don't look like you sick. Well, I hope I don't, but hey, but it's just that mindset of, I have to check myself a lot of times and say, "Sis, you need to sit down. You need to give yourself grace. You need to stop being, superwoman all the time." Superwoman also needs to take breaks and recharge, with this journey and with these, internalizing. I guess for me, I now suffer through anxiety and panic attacks. So I have to constantly remind myself, and I have a therapist and I have a coach, and I see groups counseling and I do everything, but I have to work. I'm a firm believer of self-care, and not being, not thinking of self-care as being selfish. Even with my kids, sometimes I got to lock myself in a room and leave me alone. At the end of the day, y'all don't exist. Y'all good. We good. I'm good. Sometimes, I have to do that, but in order for me to be the better me, I have to do what I have to do for Michelle first. And it's an everyday process, and I'm learning it. But, with trauma, it's never a one-shot deal and it's done. It's like, it's levels to it, but it's an ongoing process that you have to constantly work on and work on and work on and work on, and not beat yourself up about it when you have moments of breakdown.
Yeah.
Because I cry every day. And before I would not be ashamed, but I would go in a room and isolate myself to cry. Now I just, it has got to come out when it come out. And, everybody just going to have to take the time out and watch it. It is what it is.
That was good. Y'all, that was really good on the trauma, living with trauma. And now I see that I'm not as crazy as I thought I was. But, with the help of ladies like you and people in your field, we can get through this. So we had a couple more topics to cover if we had time, but this one, we're going to end with this one, because we have to get this one in before we get out of here. And we are going to talk about religion in therapy, right? The stigma. So I'm going to start with Dr. Nichole on this one.
What? I'm over here trying to play high.
I saw your face when I said it.
I'm over here trying to play hide go seek on this one, because I don't want to be in a hot seat.
I saw your
I'm glad
face.
you going first, Doc. Yes, too late for that. I'm glad you going first.
Oh wait.
We're gonna start with Dr. Nichole. And just listen, let our viewers know why, you know, like I stated when we were talking before the show, I'm from the South. You know, we got this big Bible belt going on where everything is all about religion, and therapy is, you don't need therapy, you got God and all that good stuff. So come on and tell us why therapy is such an important part of our spiritual walk.
I love all my Christian people that's listening. I don't mean any harm to you all. If the shoe fit, you're gonna have to just wear it, because Dr. Nichole Peters gonna have to tell the truth, because we as human beings need to be truthful. It
Yes.
is we God is our, we already know God is our rock. He's our source. He's our redeemer. He is everything. But he also put people in the place to help us. Let's think about in second Mark, right? It was his friends that prayed for him, that man that was paralyzed was able to walk again, because his friends pray for him. Now, sometimes you have to go have people that to pray for you and help you. God put therapists there to help you, counselors there to help us, coaches there to help us. And there's nothing wrong with getting any help. Now, we don't have to get on all the medications like we talked about earlier, but if you need some help, have you ever noticed that you sometimes tell your story, y'all at a convention or at a conference or something, or even at church, and y'all tell y'all story and somebody was like, oh, that was for me. You helped me get through this. There wasn't no medication involved. And and it sometimes it don't have to take all the hooping and hollering and saying that the Holy Ghost got you. Yeah, we understand that God got us. Psalms 91, it's 911 for a reason. It's an emergency, right? Dr. Renee Mentor, that's one thing I love about her on that part there. But at the same time, it's okay to go to DrJo and say, DrJo, I need a therapist. I need to come to get your session. It's okay to go to Carrie and say, I need to get your session. It's okay to go to Michelle or Tyeisha or even Nadia and say, I need help. Because sometimes we all need help. And you're not crazy if you choose to choose to say, I need more than just church services. Because everybody in the church, I'm a leave
let it out. No, you better let it
out. I'm gonna do my Patti LaBelle. I'm gonna do my Patti LaBelle. I'm gonna take my glasses off on this one, because it's so serious, y'all. I'm gonna be honest with you. Everybody in the church, they're not always good for you. It's a lot of them in the church that'll hurt you. You'll come out the church thinking that you're gonna get the help, and they'll have you feeling vexed. And you can go meet a stranger that'll pray for you and help you and direct you to somewhere where you can need some services done at. And there you go, you feeling better again. So do not let people, religion tell you that if you all you need, you don't need no help. Yeah, we can live. We know God is God. We know that He's the King of all kings. He is Jehovah Rapha. He is the healer. But it's okay for Him to let other people help heal you as well, to give you the assistance that you need. If you right now feel like, after you prayed and you still feel like you need some help, please go get some help. Please go get some help. If you feel like after, you done gave it all you got, but you need to go see a counselor, a therapist, we are here for you. We're here to help you out. So if you need help, get in touch with one of us. And we also, we're going to pray for you, but we also going to give you the help and assistance and the resources that you need to get better as well. God bless you all.
Love it.
Can I go
yet? All right.
I did it real good.
Go ahead.
Yes. Yes.
This is a touchy subject for me. And this is something that has been a debate. Because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you two scenarios real quick. Do you know the church is one of the biggest places that there's a lot of church hurt? Because if you have a situation where you're facing domestic violence, your husband is beating you, he's the deacon of the church, within the church, and you go to pastor for counseling for your marriage, and he tells you that you have to be submissive, that maybe it's you, there's a problem. I'm going to give you another scenario. You see, when you lose that loved one, and a couple of you have shared it, or when you're going through something with your children, yes, prayer is a tool. However, sometimes you need more than just prayer. Because when your faith is being tested, when you lose your loved one because you're trying to understand why, or you're trying to understand why someone took your child's life senselessly, then you're not looking for prayer. You're looking for answers. So sometimes when we look at religion, it's a tool to help get a person through. One of the things that I know that I had to do that in my counseling, in the work that I do, I had, and I remember um, Pastor Cynthia Anderson, Highest Praise Family Worship Center here in Baton Rouge. I remember going to her, and she's one of my spiritual mentors. And I said, Pastor, we call her Mama Pastor. I said, I know that God has given me a purpose and He's given me some tools. But
Yes.
how can I sit there and not straddle the fence in giving the word of God and doing what's right, but still making a difference without pushing who I am and offending people? She said,
Mm.
you're going to have to be creative. And one of the things she told me, she said, you're going to have to know the word for yourself.
Mhm.
10 years later, I found myself at Bible college because I took the time to understand the word for myself. Because if I'm to help His people who have been lost, who have given up, and to bring them back, I have to know the word. But at the same time, I have to have the tools and the techniques to be able to help a person get through. I have to know the basic, the neck. I have to know that I may have to use a deeper skill to sit there and bring out the root and the cause of the issue because it's been covered up for so long, because it may be generational. But at the same time, 9 times out of 10, depending on the generation, and I think every lady that's on this call today and those that may be listening, your foundation is the word of God. And so when you have a foundation and when you have strayed away, you're trying to get back, and a person says, hey, I grew up in the church. Ding, 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 ding. That's a straw for me. Because then that is where I can take from a Christian perspective and use it as a tool to bring a person back in to get through those situations. But at the same time, I had to learn to know which scripture to know for what and when and where and how and to what degree and to what extent, and if it was appropriate to do so.
Yes.
Because a lot of times within the church, we have a lot of molestation going on in the church. We have a lot of hurt going on in the church. We have a lot of bullying going on in the church. And how do we even sit there and how do we cope within the church? People leave the church because of these things.
Mm.
Yeah.
Think about it. And I'm going to end on this note.
Amen.
I'm going to end on this note. If you look in your neighborhood, in the area that you live, there was a time whereas, and I watched the show, I've been watching Tubi. I like me some Tubi. I'm loving me some Tubi because they have all these little fake shows and stuff on there. I
Mm.
love me some Tubi. I'm promoting Tubi. And there was one movie that was on there. And in the movie, it was about a young family. And the little boy went into the church after school and prayed. And then a thought occurred to me. There was a time that the church was open for prayer, where a person could, when they were, no matter what you was going through, they had the four walls of that institution to help them go through whatever situation. Go through your neighborhood. How many churches are open Monday through Friday or Monday through Sunday that a person can go in at any time and walk in as a sanctuary to sit there and deal with some of the issues that they were doing, or having someone available in the church?
None, probably.
So I say this: when they took religion out of the schools, when they're taking it out of the homes, when they're taking it out of everywhere you can think possible, this is what you do. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect by far, because I've been seasoned and I still have some work to go. However, in my practice, when I've had to learn to stand on what I believe, not allowing no one. When I stepped out to go onto private practice, there was some things, and that's a whole nother story right there. Now you got to interview me privately on that one.
Okay.
I just love her.
When I sit there and tell you, you have to make a difference. Yeah, I went to school. I have the tools that I utilize that help me when I'm doing the counseling perspective and the right things. But at the same time, when I was whether I was a probation officer, whether I'm a counselor, the one thing that I would do, I prayed over every case, every client that I had, because sometimes it's the anointing that will get you through. It's like, well, Miss Carrie, how do
Amen.
you know something is going on? How did you know this? Because I prayed for you before I started. Sometimes you
Mhm.
Amen.
can't tell them that.
Amen.
Man.
Amen.
However, I know that the gifts that God has given me to deal with grief situations or deal with situations that some may not ever be able to do, or to work with someone that has been just being a resource. It's nothing but God.
Yes. I
And a
love
lot of times we forget that aspect of the process. Whether you're dealing with a team that's committing suicide or that has thought about suicide, depression, dealing with uncharted territories of mental health, sometimes the gift that comes with it is from the power from Him. But the thing about it is to be able to walk in your purpose in this field, because yes, mental health matters. When they look at the mind, body, it's like you say, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's the mind, body, and the spirit.
Yes.
All of that is connected. And until we understand that,
it. Yep.
we will stay stuck. The
Man.
stigma will still be there.
Yeah.
I'm done.
That was good. Thank
That's
you,
good.
Queen. Yes, that was good.
You done
That
said
was
it
good.
all.
Yes.
That was good.
That's a 4-day topic too as well. That's a whole 4-day.
Yes, she
I
done said
know.
it all.
Anybody else want to chime in on religion and therapy?
I just want to read a quote that I wrote. It's in one of my books, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it says you shouldn't be so medically educated that you forget that without God, nothing is possible, not even effective mental health treatment. And you shouldn't be so spiritual that you miss the fact that mental health treatment is still important and greatly needed. God and therapy are dope.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes,
That's
she done said
powerful,
it all. She
Tyeisha.
done said it
I
Yes.
all.
need your
That is
book.
powerful.
I
Yes.
need your book.
Yes, what
Yes.
book is that? You need to just tell us what book is that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't
I
tell
need
us
your
what
book.
book, Aisha.
Put
I
your
need your
link,
book.
put that link up.
Put
I
that
will.
book.
Yes.
I will. I'll share the link.
Yeah, put that book up.
Yes.
Okay.
Because again, that book is going to help somebody else. And if I can say this, Nadia and I have been knowing each other for a while. It's been a minute, but we reconnected at an event. And the thing about it is, one thing about me, I buy 2 of every book. I try to because I want to keep my own because I'm selfish. But you never know when somebody is going to need
Yeah.
that book. And that's how you share.
Yes.
Sharing is caring. They always say that.
Yeah.
And one person's experience may help somebody else's experience. And until we as a society, until I love this, I think us 6 right here, we're going to be very powerful coming in the near future. I feel it. Because
Amen.
at the end of the day, every person's experience is different in what they've
Yes.
gone through, but there's a story to tell. They have
Amen.
plenty of authors that are out here that can share a story to help somebody.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes. All right,
Yes.
Tyeisha. All right, Tyeisha. All right, Dr. Joe, Miss Michelle, do y'all want to chime in on this
Let
before we
me tell
go?
you, they done said it all.
They have. They
They have
definitely
said
have,
it
but I still
all.
have
She
to.
just
Yes,
need to put that
yes,
book in.
yes, they
Yes.
have. They have.
That was
What I will say is that, I encourage everyone listening to this podcast and to this panel just to be unapologetically you. God loves us for who we are. And sometimes we allow other people's mindset and image to deter who we are.
yes.
You have to be unapologetically you. At the end of the day, people can't tell you what God is wants for you. That's between you and God.
Yes. That's powerful, Michelle.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
It reminded me of the
So
story of
good.
Moses. Remember when Moses, he was so afraid that, he tried to inform God of all his inadequacy, but God said, "Tell them DIM sent you," even though he stuttered. And it reminded me of when I went through my domestic violence and I couldn't speak like how I was speaking now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm afraid people might say I don't talk like them, or people might, criticize me if my word don't come out right. But God kept on saying, walk in your purpose, walk in your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And now I help so many other people, and y'all help so many people. We got a mission to do, y'all. And that is to teach people not only in May about mental health, but each and every
Every
single
day.
day that mental health matters. And when we let people know, we send the enemy eviction notice saying, no, it's just not over because today is May 31st. We carrying it in June, July, and on because it is needed, y'all. We have to stop this helping these kids that
Yeah.
feel like nobody love them, that's going in these schools and shooting up everybody.
Yes.
We got to stop our kids that's on the street killing each other for a street that they don't even belong to them. They don't pay taxes on. It's not even their set. We got to teach our kids because of a color they wear doesn't matter, that you don't kill each other. It's so much mental illness in all different ways. Like she
Mm-hmm.
said, in the culture, like she said, even at home, people going through abuse, they help other people to be abusive as well. And then for you know it, they killing themselves. Like right now with the abortion law that's going on, I know a girl that ended up having to have a baby for her dad. She looked at that baby so much because that baby for her dad, she ended up killing herself because
Wow.
she had to have that baby. Is it worth it? That caused mental illness. So I think that this is something that we ought to do all the time, not just this one time. Everybody on this platform was so powerful. But Nadia, I'm gonna just let you take over. It was just so good. It was real, real good. And DrJo, no, when I say something is good, it was good. It was good. And thank y'all all for speaking up for mental
Yeah.
health, because our kids, if anybody need it, I know
Mm-hmm.
adults need it too, but our children, our future
Yes.
generation, we are
Yeah.
losing them. And let's snatch them
Yeah.
back and teach them how they can rock it and soar in this world.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank y'all so much. This has been amazing, amazing, amazing. Of course, we did not make it through all of our topics. I knew we wouldn't though with a short time, but that just gives us a chance to come back again. So we will definitely schedule us another Power Talk Tuesday with the mental health matters and continue the conversation. Y'all, we had so many amazing guests to join us tonight, to comment, to take in this information. They mentioned that they've shared this out, they've enjoyed this. And so, listen, we gonna keep it rolling, we gonna keep going, we're gonna keep connecting, come up with a decent schedule. Maybe like Dr. Nichole said, do this once a month for our babies and our people that are dealing with mental illness and mental conditions and just don't know. The thing that we, don't, well, we probably do realize it, but the thing that is missing mostly is the education.
Yeah.
If you don't know any better, how can you do better? So that is what we are here for here at Power Conversations Podcast. I'm so happy to have you ladies here tonight. Thank you to everyone that joined us. Now, I am going to ask each of you to give your social media contacts so that people can come on and join you, get onto your groups, get onto your websites. I have posted everyone's website in the comments, so make sure y'all go and scroll up and connect with these ladies. But I'm gonna ask you all to state your contact info for the audience. And Michelle, you can start.
I can be reached on Facebook and as Michelle Anderson Benjamin. My email is info@fearlesswarriorprojectllc.com. My website is fearlesswarriorprojectllc.com. It will be officially launched in 2 weeks, but you can log on and still subscribe to be so I can get your information. And I can be also found on IG under Michelle Anderson Benjamin as well.
Awesome. Miss Carrie.
Yes, I can be found at www.rootedcounselingandconsultation.com. That is my business website. I am also on Facebook, Rooted Counseling and Consultation. I'm gonna be quite frank and quite honest. I am not the social media guru, but I'm working on it. I do know that I am Rooted CC. I want to say on Instagram as well as Twitter. Someone did it for me. That's how I don't know. So, but, I do know how to. I'm being very transparent. I'm not a social media person, and that's for a reason. Because social media, I think, even though it's here right now, social media is something that sometimes I don't use it because I don't believe that it's healthy mentally
Yeah.
for people. But I do know that I'm on Twitter, and I'm gonna be having that linked to my website, as well as I have a blog that I had stopped, but I'm starting back up. I've been kind of inspired. I got some topics, rooted inspiration dot through WordPress, and doing blogs and just different topics on mental health. And I've kind of started getting back into that blogging again. And hopefully by the end of the year, I have my first book out that I've been working on. So glory be to God.
Absolutely. Come on, Queen. All right, Dr. Nichole, how we can connect with you?
You can connect with me on www.believeinyourdreamstv.com, or you can text 64600 to dreams. Put in dreams, DREAMS, and text 64600, and it'll give you my Twitter, which is love, power, respect. And then also on Instagram, it's Believe in Your Dreams TV. So I'm looking forward to rocking with as many people as possible because we are here to rock the world.
Amazing. DrJo.
Well, I'm on all social media, DrJo Harris. I have a blog called Healthy Minds and Hearts where I talk about my mental health as I went through the experience as a military spouse. You can also reach on my website, www.commonmindsllc.com as well. And I also do a clubhouse on Mondays, mental health together we stand. So that is what I talk about on Mondays. It is all different kind of mental health topics.
And what time is that clubhouse?
It is 7 p.m. Central and 4 p.m. PST, and Eastern is 9.
All right. All right. Miss Tyeisha.
I am on Facebook as Tyeisha Brewer, IG as Ty_Alexis, and Clubhouse, I think it's Tyeisha Brewer. But that's about it.
All right, good. Well, listen, y'all, this has been amazing. Once again, thank y'all so much. Thank you to our viewers that tuned in tonight. Make sure to connect with these women. We are trying to save your mind. All right, in Jesus' name. Okay, so listen, connect with these ladies. Also, make sure that you are connected with Power Conversations podcast and magazine. Also, WYSP-TV. We are a company giving out buku visibility opportunities. So we want to see you win. And we also love to empower, educate, and inspire our kingdom minded entrepreneurs and business owners. So make sure that you are connected with all of us, and we will definitely be back with another Mental Health Matters. So be sure to tune in for that. Thank you for joining us tonight, and y'all have a great night.
Thank you.